So now we're going to get into campaign strategy and budgeting. So this is going to be a couple of videos. We're going to cover some overall kind of theory and how to think about this here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to dive into how to budget and how to set up the campaign strategy based on the funnel that you're doing. We're going to cover three main funnels. One's going to be a VSL. The other one's going to be the Facebook group. The other one's going to be DM ads. So then that way you know exactly what to do, okay? Now, that being said, also by going through all of the next trainings, you're going to really understand how to think about this to where down the line, if you launch a book funnel, if you launch a webinar, if you launch anything, this is really how you think about running paid media anyways, okay? So you'll watch this one and then you'll go to the specific funnel that you're doing and watch that one next. Now, if you're doing a funnel that's different than any of the three ones that I'm talking about, what I would do is model it off of the VSL. Okay, that's going to be your closest, that's really the most advanced one. And so that's going to really cover like the same strategy using there for the most parts, the same strategy you'd use for a book funnel, direct to sale, webinar, whatever it is. Okay, so with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the three factors that determine our campaign strategy and budgeting. And then after that, we'll dive into the specifics. So there's three things, okay? Number one is optimization. Number two is testing duration, so how long we test campaigns for. And then number three is testing volume. In other words, how much do you have to spend per campaign for it to really be a test? For you to know like, okay, I have statistically significant data that this test is good or not good, okay? So those three things, again, optimization, which we'll talk about right now, testing duration, testing volume, how much you're spending, okay? Optimization, so first and foremost, ads work best when you're able to get 30 plus conversion fires per week, per campaign for the event that you're optimizing for. Now, for our purposes, we can go as low as 15, but we try not to go lower, okay? So what this means is if I launch a campaign and optimize the campaign for leads, I wanna get at least 2 leads a day. That'd be the bare minimum. But ideally, I wanna get about 30 leads a week or about 4 leads a day, okay? Now, again, the key word here is ideal, right? So not sometimes based on your budget and sometimes also based on just the campaign in general, this isn't always possible. So for instance, I'll give you a great example, is like with RCA right now, we're doing a direct to sale webinar. So it's like an auto webinar, it sells a 997 program. It's a very advanced funnel. I highly don't recommend that you try that. And honestly, you can pretty much get the same results with a good call funnel if it's really optimized. But with that being said, I mean, that's what we're running right now. And the CPA for that, the cost per acquisition, obviously we're optimizing for purchasers. We found that was better than leads. So we're optimizing for purchasers. The CPA is about, let's say, right now with November and Q4 CPMs, it's like 1,500, right? We don't make money on it on the front end. So 1,500, well, 2 campaigns, even to get 15 conversions a week, right? 2 a day, you'd have to spend 1,500 per campaign. Okay, well, or not, no, you just have to spend 3,000 a day per campaign, right? Which would be 21,000 a week per campaign. Now, are we gonna start our testing budget for our campaigns at $3,000 a day? No, it's just not realistic, right? So we just have to kind of forego this rule, unfortunately, right? But as you'll see with especially with the DM ads, the Facebook group ads, even the VSL ads, because you're optimizing for lead, generally what we can do is get it in the 20 to 30 conversion fires per week per campaign range, and that usually will produce much more consistent and steady performance. So this is something that we want to look at when we're developing our campaign architecture, okay? So if this is confusing, don't worry, because I'm basically going to tell you exactly what to do and just do it for you anyways, okay? The next thing is testing duration. So second, what we want to do is test every single campaign. This is regardless of really what it's for 4 to 6 days. Now, in some cases, you could do it sooner, right? Like you could do it in 3 days. So if you run something for 3 days and you don't get you get crazy cost per clicks and you don't get any leads and you've spent, 2x your KPI, you could probably just cut that, right? But generally, we want to wait 4 days. And the reason why is sometimes ads just have a bad day. There's campaigns where it's spending $500 a day, 2 days in a row, it won't get a single call. And then on the third day, it'll get 5 calls. And then it's in KPI. So it's just weird how that stuff works and there's ebbs and flows. So I generally, like with all ads, I like the space stuff so that you're really looking and making testing and cutting and optimization decisions at least after day 4, okay? And then when we go into later and how to optimize the ads, you really go in and you look at 7, 14, and 30-day timeframes. You're never really looking at how was the last 4 days anyways. So again, testing duration, what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna budget the campaign so that around, ideally, day 4 to day 6, we can make a testing decision, okay? Now, if it takes longer than that to make the testing decision based on the next criteria, that's fine, okay? But, you know, you'll see how this all ties together in a second. So this brings me to the next point, and I think my training kind of got cut off here, but I'll just explain it. So the next criteria is testing volume. So this means how much do you actually spend to conclude a test. So what we want to do is we want to spend 3 to 5x KPI, okay? So we want to spend 3 to 5x KPI. So for example, if it's DM ads, and we're going to cover this in a second, if your KPI is, let's say 30, which we're going to cover this in the next training, but just bear with me. What we want to spend then is $90 to $150 minimum before making a decision, okay? We want to spend 3 to 5x that KPI. If it's Facebook group and we're doing leads, let's say our KPI for that is $20 lead. It's a little bit more of like a B2 solopreneur, B2B. Okay, well, guess what? We want to spend 60 to about, what would that be, 100 to make a testing decision there. All right. Now, as you'll see, as I go into these next 2 trainings here, when I go into this one and then this one, that show you exactly what to do, you're going to see that I actually recommend doing more than this, because this, in the grand scheme of things, is a very, 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 very low number. So I recommend actually doing like $250, which is going to be about 8x KPI, and that's going to give you a really good read, okay? And it's going to allow the Facebook to get enough conversions to actually optimize, okay? Now for the VSL, you know, it's a little bit trickier because there's 2 KPIs. There's CPL and CPBC. So what we want to do is we really want to focus on CPBC. And if CPBC, cost per book call, is $300, we want to spend $900 to $1,500 per campaign. That's 3 to 5x KPI to make a decision. Okay. Now, what we also want to do is, if CPL targets, let's say $50, or for B2B it's $100, I'll give you these figures later. We want to also, around day 3, day 4, we want to look at CPL. If CPL is reasonable, if it's within like 50% either way, we're just going to leave it and wait till this $900 to $1,500 mark. But you know, if you're trying to go after $100 CPLs and it's day 4, you spent $500, you haven't gotten any leads, or if you've gotten 1 lead, safe to say you can just turn it off, right? So it's a 2-pronged approach. It's a 2-phase approach. We look at both. So this will all make sense in the next trainings. But what I want to say is, how does this all come together? Well, when I'm architecting a campaign, I want to take how much are we going to spend? I want to divide that in between different angles and different audience hypotheses we want to test. And then I want to do it in a way where hopefully I can get that 20 to 30 conversion fires per week per campaign for the event I'm optimizing for. And I also want to make it so that we spend this 3 to 5x KPI in about 4 to 6 days. Does that make sense? Because then it's like I've spent enough in the 4 to 6 days. I've spent 3 to 5x KPI by day 5, and I can make a decision as quickly as possible, right? So that's how you iterate really fast. Now, if you don't have, let's say that would be too much budget for you, it's fine. It's just that now your 3 to 5x KPI, you might be making a decision on day 9 or day 10 because you're not spending as much per day. And so therefore, to get to that 3 to 5x KPI, we have to last a little bit longer, which is fine. So we don't make a decision off 4 to 6 days. We wait a little bit longer. So that's a theory behind this. This is how we set up all campaigns. Now, with exception of this one, right? Because again, like in the RCA example, sometimes this just isn't realistic. Or maybe if you're really skipping on budget, you just can't do the 20 to 30 conversion fires per week. It's just too much money for you, okay? So this is kind of the optional one. It's ideal, but these are the ones we always follow. So with that being said, knowing that, you'll see in the next videos how we set this up and how we get it to work.